So we are going to talk about sloping lies. I don't think this golf course actually has a massive amount of severe ones, but there is always on a links golf course times when the ball will be below your feet, above your feet, downhill, uphill. And it is interesting to see how you tailor your technique to those situations and also how the ball reacts. So we've got the ball above your feet here. Why don't you just explain to us and demonstrate what are you thinking when you get the ball above your feet? You've got a 7-iron in hand.
Yeah, I've got a 7-iron. Obviously, the more loft we have, it's going to be harder because the loft is going to be pointing left. So we want to adjust our alignment just a little bit right at the target. And we want to try and keep it as simple as possible, you know, and just sort of adjust our alignments and allow the ground to, you know, let the loft sort of make the ball draw a little bit into the pin.
OK, so we're going to aim at the 150-yard board. OK. Into the wind, a little bit off the right as well. Let's just see you. You want to get this to finish on the 150, so you're going to aim where? I'm
probably going to aim over the left edge of this bunker, which is probably on the pin just right of it, and then hopefully it just comes back onto the 5. I'm going to grip down a little bit as well.
There we go. There's that right to left flight that you predicted. Beautiful.
I think that's the left side of the green.
OK. Stick one more for me there. So you mentioned going down the grip. Is that essentially because the ground has come towards you?
Yeah, ground's up. You know, the ground's up, so we want to make the club like as short as possible. You know, to allow us to keep the body stable. Really, for me, it's trying to just keep it as simple as possible.
OK. Let's have one more then. It's a little bit down the grip. Beautifully controlled. So if you just hold that club up in front of you, Tom, we can show our viewers that that's what Tom's talking about when he says the loft of the club is pointing left. You can really see that without Tom shutting the club face at all, he hasn't manipulated the face, the loft of the club naturally looks to the left. So obviously on this ball above the feet lie, we are going to get that right to left spin. If we can just adjust the map very quickly and see if we can get the ball below your feet. Presumably, pretty much the opposite is true here. Tom, just tell us about this as it happens.
I feel a little bit like I get slightly closer to the ball and slightly sit into my bum a little bit more, try and keep good posture, and just allow the club to swing. And what we're going to do is probably aim just left of target again and hopefully allow the ball to come back. OK, in this right to left wind, it's likely to hold straight pretty much, isn't it, with a left to right fade? You think? Yeah, I'd say so, but hopefully I can manipulate it enough to try and move it.
Let's see how much you can manipulate this.
Yeah, so I'm just going to feel like a little bit closer to the ball, and I'm just going to sit back a little bit, and hopefully this ball can just move a little bit left to right.
Pretty good. Certainly didn't get moved by the right to left wind. It's a straight flighted shot, which
I think we just aim at the target.
Yeah. But that tells us, doesn't it, that you put some cut spin on it, and the wind held it up and actually went straight. So all these things have to be factored in on a links course.
Yeah, for sure.
Fascinating to hear that, and we'll wish you luck with your week.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's going to be a good one for you.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks for coming along.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You going to be able to climb onto that?
I wonder if the ball can lie still.
Now, obviously, ball below the feet, that creates different types of challenges.
Yeah, it does, and certainly, I mean, this is probably the worst thing that you as a player can get, but it comes back to the same thing as I said before, swing within yourself. The most important thing is the strike here. You're going to hit a cut, you know, that with a normal swing, so you either want to try and fight it by drawing the ball, or you want to start it left and let the ball cut back. So with wind left to right as it is here, you want to aim quite a bit left of the target, and then all I think is don't ever get ahead of this. Make sure you get your arms down, make sure you get the strike on the ball. And then the ball should move left to right and come back into target. And that for me is what I see when I watch players play in this championship. I always see guys trying to hit it hard and try and manufacture things too much. One of the best things Bob Torrance ever said to me was, when you play links golf, let the wind be your friend. Don't try and fight it. You can only get into trouble when you try and fight the wind on these golf courses. It is always much stronger than you think. Let the wind be your friend. Play with the wind instead of trying to play against it.
Last one. So we're going to go the other way there. Ball above the feet now. Now, this is obviously the opposite thing. We always talk about the ball above the feet. The ball has a tendency to go left.
Again, you know, when I feel when I have the ball above the feet, I always sometimes think the players forget to finish their golf swing. They try and think, oh, it's actually a quite nice feeling for a right-handed player. You go on this side and your swing becomes a little bit more rounded. It's a nice feel to have it here. But what you have to always do is finish your golf swing going through so the ball just doesn't hook too much. So I always try and just swing at it a little bit harder with my right shoulder so I can stabilize the flight. In this kind of wind today, left to right, well, it should pretty much, if I swing it normally, just end up being a straight shot.
Held up beautifully.
I might have to try these irons in the future.
Thomas, that's absolutely fantastic, Thomas. Thanks very much.
We're going to put the ball below your feet. We're not going to make it too difficult.
No, not too severe.
So what do you do differently, Westy? Just the basics to hit it when the ball is below your feet.
I might have a bit more angle in my body. Obviously, if you stand straight upright like you would on a normal lie, then the toe's probably going to be up. So I try and get a little bit more over it. Maybe flex my knees a little bit more.
A little bit wider stance or normal?
A little bit wider stance, maybe, yeah. And obviously, when the ball's below your feet, your swing goes a little bit more upright, and you're more likely to hit a bit of a fade. Today, the wind's howling off the left here, so I would aim even further left. But if there were no wind and I was on a lie like this, I'd aim 5 yards, 6 yards left.
And I think that's one of the important things to remember, that the slope is going to have a dramatic effect on the shape of the shot. So where you aim, you're going to want to aim even further left. So if the flag is short, you want to aim maybe 5, maybe 15, 20. In a wind like this, you might be aiming a long way to the left.
Yeah, I mean, I could be aiming 20, 30 yards left in a wind like this, with the wind blowing so severely off the left, and a hanging lie, you know, with my ball below my feet. So.
Okay, so a little bit wider stance, a little bit more angle in the body to fight the gravity effect.
Yeah, and also, generally, I'm a fader of the golf ball as well, so it makes an even bigger difference to me. Sometimes when I'm practicing at home, I try and get on a lie like this because
it accentuates.
Yeah, and ideally, I would like my swing to be a little bit more upright, so I will get on a lie like this, and that will create a more upright swing for me.
All right, well, go ahead and hit one for us. So the little bit wider stance, a little bit angle in the body, aiming left.
Yeah.
Nice, smooth tempo.
See, it's fading a little bit left to right there.
One of the things also I think that happen when people get on these uneven lies is sometimes they tend to swing a little bit too hard. You want to have that nice, smooth rhythm so that gravity doesn't move you down the slope.
Absolutely. If you start swinging fast, then gravity will start to pull you onto your toes, and it can create all sorts of problems. You ideally want to stay very centred and just turn around your centre and collect the ball.
So that's the ball below your feet. Go ahead and step on that now. We're going to put the ball above your feet.
You're saying this thing won't move with my weight on it?
Depends on how many cheeseburgers we've had. All right. So now the ball's dramatically above your feet.
Yeah.
So the direction the ball's going to curve is the opposite of when it was below your feet, which is now from right to left.
Yeah, it would be normally, but obviously the wind's howling off the left, so it's probably just going to hold straight. But I would do a pretty similar sort of thing. I would try and get my body angled slightly differently to the slope. With it being above my feet, it's going to make my swing a little bit more rounded, as opposed to the other lie where it was a little bit more upright. And I would expect it to just draw and maybe hold against the wind. So I will try do nothing different with my swing other than get set into it on the setup and then just make a normal swing, and obviously don't try and hit it too hard.
Perfect.
And it's not sort of...
It's not going to move much
It's not fading as much. It's drifting a little bit on the wind, but it's holding sort of.
I think it's interesting for junior golfers out there, if you're trying to draw the golf ball and learn how to hit it from right to left, this is a lie that's actually really good to help you feel that. As you said, as a fader, you actually go the opposite way and get that feeling. When you were a kid, did you go out and play on a lot of these uneven lies and teach yourself and learn how to hit these shots?
Yeah, I mean, where I grew up as a kid, playing on, starting at Worksop Golf Club, there's a lot of uneven lies there anyway. You do get a few flat ones, but there were a lot of downhill lies and left to right and right to left. So I learned to play off these kind of lies. And, you know, when we go somewhere like Augusta, you know the severity of the lies at Augusta National. You really need to know how the ball's going to react and how your swing is going to react off these different lies.
Talk us through your technique when you're on this sort of slope and how you adapt it and how the ball, you'd expect it to flight differently because of the slope.
Yeah, obviously, we've measured this. This is 64. You know, wind's not really playing a factor. It's more For me, it's more where your sternum would be in relation to the ball. So ball position in general would be club head inside and whatever it is. Wedges might go 2 club heads inside to get your strike. But with how you having to actually go and follow the slope a little bit here, all of a sudden you're changing that quite a lot with how you are, your shoulder angle, your foot angle, where your weight is. So I think that when you start getting shots that are under 80 yards, I think the easiest thing is actually to be relatively static around your left leg, because like a bunker shot, you need to get a stable base to get your strike. So I would kind of go more middle of the stance here, and then get the weight a little bit more kind of 70-30, 60-40, and then actually use that slope to get your angle of attack. The one thing people try and do off these slopes at times is get it up in the air, which is horrendous, because you're going to top it, thin it, fat it, whatever you do. Whereas actually, I tend to actually go kind of, I get the toe under it a little bit, so there's less bounce anyway, and I'll open it up a fraction just to kind of counter the fact that I'm on a downslope. And I'll get the shaft a little bit steeper. Ball position again then goes middle. And then from there, I'll not do anything daft. I just won't try and shift weight, do anything like that. This would be more of a longish chip feeling.
Okay,
to try and get that blow. So
you described it beautifully. I'm sure you're going to demonstrate beautifully too.
I do describe it well, but hitting them doesn't always work out.
It has on this occasion. The lower flight we were expecting, pretty good yardage there as well.
Ish.
Let's get the mat, if we can, now just to tilt so the ball would be above Danny's feet, if we can. And while that's happening, Danny, I'm just going to stick this on your club face. If you hold
Am I right standing on this while you're moving?
Fine, yeah.
This feels
If you hold it up in the air for me, as if you, that way.
Like this way.
Addressing a ball that way,
right, yeah.
You can see that if we put this indicator on Danny's club face, how the loft of the club, being as severe as it is, a 60-degree wedge, how sideways that ball is now going to travel. Nothing to do with rolling wrists or flat planes. It's just literally the manifestation of the loft of the club pointing to the left. So when we've got the ball above your feet, as we have now, you obviously have to factor that in. Tell us about that. Yeah,
I mean, it's an interesting one. I've used these quite a lot in the past to get your eyes in the right place. Naturally, this ball will want to draw. As you saw with that last one, naturally the ball wanted to fade a little bit. I've done that as well with going toe down and stuff. But naturally, with how this is, because of where it is on the arc, this will naturally want to hold line a little bit. Personally, this is from my point of view, I would try and counter that a fraction when it's a wedge. If it's something longer, you let it go because it's really hard. But with a wedge, I would actually try and counter that a little bit. But yeah, normal. Again, ball position-wise would be middle to back again. What happens on this is if you move the ball back, you shift your plane right. That's why theoretically it will draw just through physics with loft and everything on a shorter club. So I would still keep that ball back. And if you want to let it go, don't be frightened of it. But I would actually, personally, I would get a little closer, a little steeper, just to try and even it out a little bit. Otherwise, you start getting too much shape on a wedge and it's quite difficult to control distance because of everything else. So naturally, it will want to draw. If you want to do that, carry on. I would personally try and just, again, same kind of thing. I'd grip down a little bit, get the shaft a bit steeper. I'd have the ball back. I'm going to try and hit just a little holdy one here. Because I think it's easier to get contact right at the bottom when it's that way.
You're very good, aren't you?
It's also a mat as well, which helps.
Right, so now, obviously, the ball below your feet, that's going to change things a little bit, particularly when you're talking about that target in mind.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things I would generally try to do would potentially be with club up. Go down the grip a little bit, just try and control the flight a little bit better.
Reason being?
Just because wind, like you see the slope here, generally you're not going to hit a 5-iron your normal distance. It's probably going to go a little bit shorter. So as we've only got the 5-iron, so first shot obviously on the flat lie, I was aiming more at the 150. So with this downhill lie, I'll grip down just to get a bit more control and just aim just a little left of that 150 and swing along the line of my feet. And you can see it's trying to work left to right.
A little bit more of a drift on that one. Yeah. Good stuff.
A little bit too far left.
Okay, obviously now we're going to try and create the opposite. The guys at Zen Green just to tilt it up a bit.
That's pretty impressive.
This is pretty good, isn't it? I quite like this, yeah. We're going to go right away and create the ball above the feet. Here we go.
Stay there.
Yeah. Right, okay, so now the ball off and up slope, that's going to change things as well in terms of, again, where you line up.
Yeah, so obviously here, you're generally going to hit it right to left, but this is probably the trickiest shot because you've got your wind off the left, but your ball flight is generally going to go right to left off this lie. So starting line is key here. For me, obviously, you feel like it's going to draw, so you're going to draw it into the wind again. Probably club up a little bit more because it's not going to go so far. And instead of aiming probably towards the 150, you're probably going to aim a little bit squarer because it's going to turn into that wind, and then the wind's going to shift it. So again, similar to the downhill lie, just grip it down just slightly. Try and aim it a little bit squarer. As you can see, it starts straight and then the wind's just drifting it a hair left to right.